Now, that picture that I showed before was actually a reference picture for the day. We are currently just painting in the background. So nothing too we'd call easy, simple. We really don't care how it looks. We're going to mix some white with it. We've just chosen base colours as yellow and orange, a couple of different oranges, predominantly mixed with white to give us the varying colours, and of course yellow. So we haven't gone out of our way to make it super easy and super hard for anybody. It's just what it is. It's a mixture of colours, and obviously you watching me paint is not very exciting, and unfortunately there'll be a lot of that. It's different when you're doing it. Hopefully you are doing it, because it's nice and easy for you to copy what I'm doing. You don't necessarily have to use the same colours. It's just a technique whereby I'm using a 2-inch brush or a 1.5-inch brush, nice and easy to get the colours mixed. I'm mixing with water because that gives you a better flow and a better blend, and I'm also using white as my mixer. And you can see up here in the corner I've actually got too much white, so I'm putting a little bit of orange back in with it. There's not really, I can't say, too much to it. If you get the chance, let this dry before you draw on it. It's the simplest way of doing it, and as you are following along, you have the time to let it dry. It's nice and easy. Will dry fairly quick. So these are side by side. Now, as you can see, I'm only using the one on the left as a guide, and the one on the right, we're just drawing in some basic flowers. The same sort of thing as you would have done when you were a kid going through school. Random, just, making it look like flowers. Nothing too strenuous, nothing. It's all very simple artwork. We don't go overboards, and we just pick. As you can see, I've only done 3 flowers in the new one, whereas there's 3.5 or 4 flowers in the old one. I'm just picking basic colours to do my background colour in. So we all have a base colour for these. I pretty much work with base colours the whole way through, put in my base colour and then do my highlights from there. Now, there's nothing even about these, there's nothing over the top, they're just drawn and they're going to be coloured in, for lack of a better word, painted in, coloured in as we go along. So there's nothing too hard or too exciting or too, make them as they are. It's very, very tedious watching somebody. I know, because I'm watching myself, and oh dear, I'd rather be painting, to be honest with you. Again, like I said, if you need to mix it more, remember you will lose a little bit of colour, so to speak, so you might have to go over it again if you put in the water aspect, but it will blend if your background is too dry. If your background is too wet, you will find some of your colours from your background coming through. That's okay too. Just bear in mind that you may, if you want to use the dark colour as your background colour, you may need to go over it a second time. If you are not too worried about the colours blending, then you won't have to worry too much about it. As you can see, my colours are blending a little bit where I've got the white, which of course was the last colour I put on. It's not quite dry and it is tending to blend a little, whereas the oranges and the yellows and that sort of thing are pretty much all the background is dry, barring those. Now the colours I'm using are basically, well, here in Australia they're Montmartre. So they're available at all of your junk stores. I'm only using the $2 or $3 one. I'm not using anything that's super expensive. Basically, all of the brushes are Montmartre also, except for the thick brushes that we've got there, which of course I just got from Bunnings. They're nice and easy. The brushes are probably the most expensive. I'm just using water in a water container that I picked up that's technically supposed to be spill proof because it's a kid's one, and then paper towel. So nothing that's over the top. I am, however, using a paint palette, which was $2 or $3, maybe even $4 at the junk store, purely and simply to keep my paints in. So there's nothing, that is overly expensive here. Probably the paintbrushes cost me more than anything else to buy the sets, because I buy them in sets and they are anything up to $10, $15 depending on which set you buy. I'm not using real thin paintbrushes here. The thick paintbrushes, I think they go to a point if you're using rounds. If you're using flats, then they have obviously a flat surface and points on them. And you just use them on the side of the brush so that you get a flat, a pointed surface. Now this one here, remembering it has I will be doing it in light blue, but it has bits in between all of those. So when I did that, I actually drew in all the bits, as you can see, in between. Now again, I'm just putting in base colours, so there's nothing too exciting about this. We're using a purple. Because I'm using the light purple first, instead of mixing the white with it, which I will do on the other flowers to get lighter colours as I go through, on this one we're starting out light, so I will probably put a darker colour as a contrast. Looks very boring at this stage, doesn't it? That's the light blue I'll be using for around the dark blue. No, I've obviously decided to go with turquoise. So it's a little bit different. That is a light blue, but I've obviously chosen turquoise. I must have got two out. And again, I'm just filling in some of the other colour that I put in, the background colour. I did put these in. I drew this when I first drew the plant to make it a little bit different to the others. They're all going to look different in the end. Obviously there is somebody around who I am talking to currently. Either that or it's cats or dogs. I might be talking to anything. On a couple of the videos I've actually had the cat jump up on the table and I've had to rescue the painting. She does like it when I'm painting because she plays with the paintbrush. And this is creating a little bit of a difference. It's actually thinning some of the petals out and meaning that you can see the petals behind. So some of the paintbrushes I'm leaving and some I'm washing out as I go. I must be in the paint box again. Getting some green. Now you did see me put in some stems before. Just really basic. Coming down, and it gives you an idea of where we're starting our painting from. Now there's nothing overly even about these. You don't have, there are no specifics, places that they need to be, no specific colours that they need to be, just whatever actually makes you happy. Now I originally had a bit of a square marked out in A3 size. I am using rolled canvas. The reason I use rolled canvas is so that I can put it in a book or a flat image or a photo frame or post it, like roll it up and post it. There are many reasons, and storage tends to be a problem. You, however, have the flexibility of doing it on paper, doing it on a proper canvas to hang, doing it on whatever size that you would like and whatever surface. You can use timber, you can use whatever you fancy. I use this specifically for a reason. You, however, have the flexibility to do whatever you like for your own reasons. Now we're starting to put in, as you can see, some of the attractions, highlights, bits and pieces that we've got floating around in the other one. And I'm simply using the colours that are already there. So the colours I have used, I'm not getting new colours out for this. I'm simply using what I've already used. And some are big swirls and some are little swirls. The leaves we are using as an underpaint colour. So we are going to colour those in completely. And then our highlight colour will go in over the top. These are nice and simple for you to follow, but they're not meant to be identical in any way, shape or form to the ones that we are using as templates or reference material. The same as if you were using a photo or another picture. Nothing is ever the same when it's painted. Nothing is ever the same as the original unless it's designed to be, or it's photocopied or photographed or whatever. As you can see, we've started to get a little bit, it's looking a little bit more like the other one, as in the theme of it. We are getting a little bit more paraphernalia floating around it, and a few more highlights put in it. Starting to get a little bit more interesting. I can't honestly say I'm doing a great deal. Just putting in some swirls and some patterns and making it look the part. This is a lot lighter surface, but this is also the one that I wanted to use. Depending on, you can make it match the decor in a specific room. You can do it for somebody else and match their decor. You can just do it because you want to and it's leftover paint. You can, whatever you like. If you put it on a dark surface, so your background is dark, make sure your flowers are light. The base colour is light so that you have some contrast and they will stand out. And then you can, to all intents and purposes, make your highlights a little bit darker. So you can do predominantly what we are going to do on the purple flower, but you would do it all the way along. So you would actually have a dark surface, a dark background, lighter colour flowers, and then do darker highlights, low lights, whatever, but to give you the contrast. I'm doing two different types here, so that you can see basically what we're doing. I went for a bigger brush. The lighter you press on the pointy end, the more control you have over the point. And then as you go down further, press more and it will give you a wider brush head so you can fill in faster. So I've just mixed a little bit of white with that to give a little bit lighter reddish pink from the burgundy background. I'm just using that colour somewhere else, as you can see. Now, one of the reasons that I've left these stems out as such right down the bottom is because I will eventually put some grass in it. Now, if you're using a dark background, you could use the light colour first and then the darker colour over the top, and then we actually have a darker colour to go in over the top of that, which you will see as I go along. Making this a little bit lighter. It's a little bit easier to see what I was meaning by pressing down on the paintbrush and you're using it lightly to get your final lines. Now there is no specifics with this. You can mix whatever colour you happen to like. You can mix whatever blend. You can do the flowers any way that you like. I'm using a slightly thinner brush to do the rounds and the, not so much the dots, but the curls. The dots I'm leaving it on the bigger brush to do that. We're not getting too close to the bottom, as most of that will get covered up, but it's nice to have it coming through. We're getting to the tail end of it now, so you'll be able to see it really starting to take shape very, very soon. Back to the thicker brush, and non-specific. None of these are perfect, none of them, I'm not really following a pattern, I'm just keeping them on the thing, the petal itself, and to a certain extent going around the top, just making it look like there's some interest in the flower. I've obviously not got the colour I want, so I have a funny feeling this will be the darker purple. Yep. Okay, so as you can see, we've just got a dark purple, and all we're really doing is bringing some contrast back into that flower. Again, it's not really specific, but it's just making it look a little bit different to the others. I'm getting some orange for the centers of the flowers. Mixing a little bit of water in to get some flow happening. It's very easy to create interest purely and simply by putting a few dots. All these are pretty much the same colour as in the centres, and I could have used a yellow, but I think the orange stands out more on the background, which is kind of why we've done it that way. Mixing some light green, not being overly specific about how it goes down, where it gets put, just that it needs to create a few contrasts. Again, we're not being too specific, and I'm not covering the whole lot, just bits and pieces of it. You know, it's not, it's just to create some highlights. It's not really to fill it in. And I know most of you will sort of go, oh, it should be the light side on the top. But you know what? It gives you guys something to talk about. I'll probably go back to the blue, creating a little bit of contrast in the darker colours. Not excessive amounts because they are in the background. We don't want too much. It's the foreground we really, really, really want to see. And that will be happening very soon. So once again, not really thinking too much about where it is, just creating some contrast on the leaves so that there are some ripples in there and some patterns and designs. I've had to go and look for a colour that I missed. Now we have the bright green, and we're going to make some grass. Put it at the bottom. It's not something that you have to do. You can call it quits as you want. You can put a border around your picture. You can frame it. You can do pretty much whatever you like with it. You can put a sky in. You can, there are no rules. Nothing is ever perfect. Nothing is ever the way that it should be. There are no shoulds. There are no mistakes. There are no nothing in art. The two side by side. Have a great day.